On today's show, the Ottawa Senators continue dominance over the Detroit Red Wings. We'll break down a 4-3 win and what it means in the Eastern Conference standings.
And we preview the weekend with one of the last back-to-backs of the season up against the Columbus Blue Jackets and on the road to the Pittsburgh Penguins.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. Down in the desert, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just head to FanDuel to get started. Today is Friday, March 28th, and Pilsy, I think the Ottawa Senators just put the final nail in the Detroit Red Wings playoff hopes.
Yeah, that was a big win for the Ottawa Senators and a huge loss for the Detroit Red Wings, especially, Ross, the fact that Ottawa was able to keep this from going past regulation. Oh my God, did it get close with that post near the end, and Jake Sanderson ends up coincidentally falling on the puck, we'll say. No penalty for covering it or anything like that. But yeah, that was
good positioning, we'll call it.
Good positioning, yes. That was very close, and I think I speak for all Sens fans, Ross, a huge breath off our shoulders being able to get away with that one.
Oh, man, what a fun game, eh? Like, that first period could have been 3 or 4-0. You highlighted yesterday how power plays were the Detroit Red Wings' bread and butter, but it was burnt toast that whole period long. The Sens PK didn't let them get a sniff.
Yeah, you got to give a lot of credit to the PK, Ross. Like, this is the Detroit Red Wings power play, top 3 in the league, one of the hottest ones in a recent stretch here, and they had the opportunities again and again and again, and they had chances to build momentum, and Linus Ullmark was the Ottawa Senators' best penalty killer, in my opinion. I mean, in that first period alone, Ross, he stopped 16 shots. The Sens only got 8. The Red Wings had 16. So he had to be strong to keep this team in the game. And the Sens, kind of flipping the script a little, they were the ones that had a few opportunities offensively, but when they did, they capitalized on them. I feel like usually, Ross, it's the other way around, where the Sens are dominating puck possession and shots and Corsi and everything like that. But then the one time their opponent gets an opportunity, they bury it. It was refreshing to see it go the Sens' way this time.
And thank you to the Red Wings for starting Alex Lyon in this game, because Cam Talbot came in after that third goal, and he looked pretty good in goal for the Red Wings. So opportunistic was one way to put it, but to me, a win is a win, and it's not how, it's how many. And now the Ottawa Senators have put even more breathing room between them and the teams chasing them in the wild card race. We'll get into how the standings shake out in the next segment, but we got some performances to highlight. You mentioned Linus Ullmark. This game would not have been a victory without him, and that's light work. 16 shots against in the first period. Tried 27 in the second period last time he played Detroit. Yeah. They must have been, and I really wanted to tweet this out. I'm glad I didn't, because it would have backfired with the 3 goals in the third period, none of which were Ullmark's fault. But I wanted to tweet out what Red Wings see coming down on Linus Ullmark and just a brick wall in goal, because at one point it was 74 saves on 76 shots in the last 2 games head to head. So just an incredible performance from Linus Ullmark. He needed that one. The Sens needed a goalie. I wouldn't call it a goalie win, because the offense did provide 4 goals of support for him, but my goodness, was it incredible to see Linus Ullmark stand tall in that first period, especially like, we got to fix this down low stuff on the PK, because they are giving up so much, but Ullmark was able to stand tall for most of it until the Patrick Kane goal backdoor. Our locked on and lookout players have been on absolute heaters recently, Pilsy. I don't know if we've got the crystal ball out or what, but Fabian Zetterlund gets his first point with the Ottawa Senators, and he looks so good on Stützle's wing. I think it's just a matter of time before the floodgates open for him.
Yeah, and I'm glad he got that point, Ross, because it was looking tough when he gets that penalty, right? You can see the look of disappointment on his face. He's like, oh, man, this is not how I wanted to start this game off. But then out of the box, he gets the puck, brings it up the ice, and I thought for sure when he was bringing it up, Ross, I was like, He's going to shoot this thing no matter what. He's just determined to get a shot on net to try to score. No, heads up play. See Chabot join the Russ. Quick, crisp pass, and Chabot makes no mistake. So that was a great play by Fabian Zetterlund. But I want to highlight the play, Ross, of a guy that did not get a single point in this game, but he still led this team to victory. Brady Tkachuk, the captain. I mean, my God, that sequence of Timmy and Edvinsson, where sure, Timmy gets a stick under Edvinsson's skates, but it seemed like a bit of a dramatic fall. So Timmy doesn't like that. He gives him a shove. Edvinsson comes right back and it's like, hey, you didn't like that? Let's solve it right here. And Timmy doesn't back down, but I think he made we'll call it a business decision in the sports world, where he's looking at Edvinsson and he's like, this is not a mess I want to get in. So smartly, he does the right thing and skates away. But Brady Tkachuk sees what's happening and he's like, nuh-uh. You're not about to go after my superstar, Timmy Superstar, and try to bait him into fighting you. You want to be the big kid on the playground? Pick on someone your own size. Let's go here. And they have a quick chat. Edvinsson says, yeah, you really want to deal with this? Brady says, you want to deal with this? All right, boom. Gloves dropped, and that's how you handle it. That's how a captain should react. You cannot have your superstar skilled player get outsized and outmuscled and baited into an emotional fight. You need to be the one stepping in there and taking care of that and handling it yourself. And Brady Tkachuk handled that perfectly, in my opinion. For the people that don't like that or say, oh, your captain shouldn't be fighting, or wow, now one of your best players, the guy that leads your team in goals, is in the box for 5 minutes, get out of here. Miss me with that, because this was the perfect time and the perfect way for Brady Tkachuk to handle that situation, in my opinion.
And if Tim Stützle had taken a fighting major, he would have been in the box when he actually scored a goal. A classic Tim Stützle goal where he holds it, and puts it short side from a tough angle. And the fact that it was Moritz Seider defending him one-on-one was just a cherry on top of that play.
Well, no, because Brady was on the ice for that play. I don't know if you noticed, but he assaulted Lucas Raymond behind the play. Look, again, say what you want. That I would have no issues whatsoever if a penalty was called on that play, but that's just Brady mixing it up, getting under the skin of their superstars, and apparently he didn't push it too far, because the refs were watching that clearly, did not call a penalty. And
I'm the dumbest guy going. The fight was after the goal.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, I think your timelines are a little mixed up there.
When there were so many penalties, I had trouble of who's coming out of the box when.
Yeah, it happens. All good, buddy. But then shout out Timmy. He's like, I'm not about to get distracted by Brady's antics. Brady does this on a Tuesday morning practice. He's doing this to guys. I'm just going to keep playing. I got the puck. I got a good rush here. I got speed. I'm going to go wide. And then he gets a nice angle shot that beats Alex Lyon. So just a great play there. And yeah, say what you want about Brady, but sure, he doesn't get a point on that one, Ross, but that directly impacts that play and allows Tim Stützle to have the time and space to make that move.
Just an incredible coaching decision, I think, moving around the lines a little bit too. I just thought that everything was clicking. And yeah, the Red Wings had their late push, sure. But loved what I saw in last night's game. So a great bounce back after the loss against Buffalo. And we got to continue to highlight this line of Drake Batherson, Dylan Cousins, David Perron. They've now scored 7 goals in 88 minutes at 5-on-5 together, after David Perron got a gift goal, he'll call it, because he came off the bench and all of a sudden it was in his hands on a breakaway. And loved what he said. I mentioned this on the postcast, but it's worth repeating that he mentioned to Gord Miller that he played with Alex Lyon and that Lyon keeps his glove high. So it's those pre-scouts that he's like, I knew I had an opportunity going low glove, and he made a great fake to make sure that it wasn't obvious that he was going to do it. And then he pulls it back to his right and made no mistake. That 3-0 goal, I just put about 1 million times, because the fact that Ottawa got called for 5 penalties in the first 20 minutes of this game, and then at the end of each one, including the one at the start of the second period, because Cleven's penalty bled over across the intermission, the fact that they scored a goal immediately after all 3 of the 5 penalties expired was just so funny to me. Like I just thought it was the perfect remedy. And What was funnier, though, that or the fact that after Ottawa's second goal, the one you mentioned where Brady was, let's call it roughhousing with Lucas Raymond in the neutral zone, there was a ref you suck chant in Detroit. You guys just had 3 power plays in the first 8 minutes of the game, including a 5-on-3. You're going to say ref you suck? Come on.
Yeah. Look, I can appreciate that they're upset that no call was made there and it directly turned into a goal, but I will side with you, Ross. The ref you suck chant, I think is a little short-sighted there, in my opinion.
Senators continue their dominance of Detroit, 15-2-1 in their last 18 games head-to-head. That goes back to the start of the 2019-2020 season. And for anybody who said we were jinxing it by tweeting out a factual statement from the LOSP stats department, eat it.
People are very, very sensitive about stuff, Ross. If you say the Red Wings are slipping out of the wild card race, they're quick to fact check you. I made it clear. I thought that was a fair statement. They are slipping out of this race. They're still in it, but it's getting icy on that road, and they're going down the hill here. And yeah, we're just tweeting out facts. I was saying, make sure you're looking out for Tarasenko. Everybody's upset. I got another lookout player scoring goals. I'm trying to tell the Senators to watch out for them. I'm highlighting guys who should be covering and they're scoring goals. It's not my fault. Like, everybody is very, it's
on
tense.
edge.
It's on edge. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. Everybody is on edge about our takes right now. But hey, we're doing a daily show for the first time ever. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. The sunshine is hitting our eyes like it is for you down in the desert, Ross. So we're gonna keep the takes going. Like, we're not gonna stop here, and we're not gonna apologize for our takes, our facts, our opinions, our analysis. The LSP stats department is on fire these days, so
always
that's just how it is.
Episode 1258, and the Ottawa Senators have a legitimate opportunity in front of us. Let's take a look at the standings after the break. A cheering guide tonight. 3 games that are critically important, and another where we want to ask you, are we hopping against certain teams' bandwagons? Then we'll preview a back-to-back over the weekend against Columbus. First time meeting. First of 3 games in 11 days between the Columbus Blue Jackets and Ottawa Senators. And then the Sens are taking on the Penguins in Pittsburgh. Curious how that second half of back-to-back's going to go.
It's almost impossible to stop.
We're got a back-to-back on the weekend. Thanks, Tristan Jarry. More on the other side. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. March Madness is here, guys, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets when it's all over. I got my eye on a few underdogs this year, but it's been the favorites that have been really dominating this tournament. FanDuel makes it easy to back your teams with spreads, totals, and game props. With tournament games happening almost every single day, there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly. Those green numbers, those trophies hitting your account real quick. So go visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action and the Sens action all season long with FanDuel.
Today's episode is also brought to you by our great friends over at Club EG, clubeg.golf. Whether you're a male, female, junior, senior, good golfer, or you suck like me and you still love getting out on the course, doesn't matter. Club EG has something for you. You can purchase a membership and play over 60 great courses that Club EG partners with. You can join a golf league, you can go on a golf trip, or play in the Ottawa Sun Scramble, a 2-person scramble championship. It's completely up to you which path you take with Club EG. Check out clubeg.golf for more information and to learn about so many great options that get you playing more golf this summer. With 60 great courses through Club EG, you have so many options, and as mentioned, their tournaments, leagues, and trips, they're all top-notch. I'm coming to Ottawa for a few weeks this summer. I'm going to have to get out and play as many courses as possible, and I'm going to be locked on to Club EG to do that. My best buddy's got a bachelor party. We're going to Cabot at the end of summer. That means I need to practice. And why not get as much practice this summer as possible by going to Club EG? So join them for early bird specials. You don't have to be a member to take part in any of their events, leagues, or trips. But if you want to become a member to play those 60 great courses day in and day out, go to clubeg.golf. That's clubeg.golf to learn more about so many great options to get you playing more golf this summer. All right, Pills, the Ottawa Senators win, Detroit Red Wings lose. That makes for a great Friday energy here on Locked On Senators. With that 4-3 victory, by the way, Ridley Greig played the most minutes of any Sens forward last night, becoming a bit of a trend, hey?
Yeah, actually, I was going to get into this with our weekend preview, but I've been highlighting Ridley Greig here, and it's pretty impressive, the growth from him. If you look at, he's in his third season, Ross, each year. So his rookie season, 12 minutes 54 time on ice. Next year, 14:45. This year, 16:52. He's going up slowly, 2 minutes a night. But recently, if you take a look at his game logs, like his last games, 20:42, 17, 20, 16, 18, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. He's much closer to that 20-minute mark. And I've been really impressed with his game. And I think having the opportunity, if it stays this way, to have Brady Tkachuk on that line with Shane Pinto and Ridley Greig, that line could be very interesting and do a lot of damage. But I do think there a bit of line changes throughout the game. I missed the second half of the games. Did Cousins end up centering that line a little bit?
There was just a couple shifts where it was Brady Tkachuk, Dylan Cousins, and Ridley Greig. But if you look at it on Money Puck, they've got the line combinations of 5-on-5. Cousins, Perron, Batherson played the most together, followed by Pinto, Tkachuk, Greig. Then Gaudette, Highmore, and Amadio, Giroux, Stützle, Zetterlund. It was just a minute and 8 seconds there of Cousins, Perron, and Greig, and then just one shift there, as I mentioned, of Perron with Tkachuk and Greig. So lots of different line combinations played at least a minute together in this game, but you also saw at the end of the game where it was a change up where they put Michael Amadio onto a line with Stützle and Tkachuk there to help at the end. So there's lots of movement for sure, but all in all, I think they're sticking with that Cousins, Perron, Batherson line, and rightfully so. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I want them to stick with that. And another thing too, Ross, that's impressed me about Ridley Greig is this guy is becoming very good in the faceoff dot, and Travis Green is using him in huge situations. I think there was one draw in the D zone where the Red Wings had their net pulled, and it wasn't Claude Giroux, it wasn't Brady Tkachuk, it was Ridley Greig taking the draws. And this year, he's at 53.2% success in the faceoff dot. So he's becoming such a well-rounded player, and I really think that contract extension he signed is going to end up looking like a smart move by Steve Stais.
Yeah, I feel like we've highlighted Ridley Greig, and rightfully so, pretty often recently. Let's highlight where the Ottawa Senators stand as we head into a weekend where they'll play 2 games. Senators, top wild card spot, and even better was a loss for the Montreal Canadiens yesterday against the Philadelphia Flyers, which means the Senators 6-point lead atop the wild card race with the same amount of games played as Montreal, who's lost 2 in a row now. Then you have the Islanders and the Rangers with 74 points. The Rangers have played 1 extra game there. And then there's the Columbus Blue Jackets, tomorrow's opponent, at 73 points in 70 games. So they have a game in hand on everybody else in the race. Detroit now, I know they're only 3 points back, but the Habs, Islanders, both with a game in hand on them, they are looking like they are dead. That
they
said,
have a 3.9% chance of making the playoffs, Ross. That's the thing. You can look at the points and be like, oh, they're right there, but that's overlooking the other 4 teams in the race. Games played.
Well, 5, because it's 4 teams, I guess 4 plus them.
Yeah, they have to jump 4 teams to get into a wild card spot.
Correct.
Yeah. And look at the strength of schedule. They highlighted on the broadcast, Ross. Detroit has one of the hardest strength of schedules moving forward. So that's why I'm not saying they're done and dead yet, Ross, but they are watching the light escape them, and it's going through their fingertips. They're slipping away on this wild card race big time here.
So let's look at tonight's cheering guide, and it includes a question mark. But let's get to the sure things. We are rooting for the Carolina Hurricanes tonight at home against the Montreal Canadiens. We are rooting for the Vancouver Canucks on the road in Columbus. We're big Canucks fans these days. They played the Rangers, then they played the Islanders. Now they're playing the Blue Jackets. We are all Canucks at the end of the day. Am I right, Pillsy, eh?
We are all Canucks. However, Ross, we are not all Canadiens. I want to make that clear.
But are we all Ducks? Tonight we are. Ducks are hosting the New York Rangers.
Quack, quack. Let's go.
Quack, quack, Pillsy. So those are the three games that you're really going to be dialed into. We are rooting for the Carolina Hurricanes, the Vancouver Canucks, and the Anaheim Ducks. Of course, we'll tweet this out later on as we do each and every day at Sens Central. But Pillsy, this is the real question mark for me. Are we officially on board that the Toronto Maple Leafs are the preferred opponent in the first round?
Yes. Yeah. And I think most Sens fans, like even Ross, when we do Sens Central citizen interviews and even early on in the year, asking Sens fans, who do you want to face in the playoffs if you make it? I would say 90% of them all say the Leafs. They want the Battle of Ontario. And look, I want it too. I think it's a great matchup for the Sens on the ice. Clearly, they swept the season series.
5 straight wins. I was at the last time they didn't beat the Leafs, and that was the game where Joseph Woll got hurt, and Ottawa had a late push. They just ran out of time. That was the night where the lights went off during a power play.
Oh yeah, that was actually hilarious. What a Sens moment there. But yeah, I think they match up well against them. I think it's obviously the juiciest rivalry that can happen in the playoffs for the Ottawa Senators.
It's also the matchup, and it's going to be either the Leafs, the Panthers, or the Lightning we're pulling up right now. Like, that's as close as it can get here.
Yeah.
And look at the points percentage. Like, they're all right there atop the Atlantic Division. It's either the Leafs, the Panthers, or the Lightning. And we know that playoffs comes down to goaltending. And the series where Ottawa has the clear-cut advantage in net is against the Leafs.
But I will say I'm not disrespecting Stolars or Woll. But when you look at Bobrovsky or Vasilevsky, I see what you're saying. That is the preferred option. But I just want to make it clear we're not saying that either of those two are complete bums. But also in the playoffs, Ross, I think it's such an advantage to have a clear number one rather than a tandem. Because, and Leafs fans know this, when you start flip-flopping between goalies and your coach is in a mental pretzel trying to decide, okay, if he wins and he plays good, he plays this game, and then we'll get this guy in this game, and then this game, like it just spirals out of control, and it ends up being a huge, huge issue. So I would much rather be in a situation like the Sens are, where clearly Ullmark is the number one guy. There's not even a question of are you going to go to a different goalie or
Marilainen?
I mean, that's interesting, and some Sens fans are probably pissed off at me right now, being like, "No, we need Levy in." But
probably the most common complaint comment in the YouTube comments. They're like, "Where's Levy? Where's Levy? He'll have his time."
And that's fine. Yeah, exactly. We got when you have a former Vezina winner that you've got signed for this year and 4 more years after, we're gonna go with him.
Let's see what Alfie thinks. You think Levy Marilainen's going to get into a playoff game this year?
Probably not.
Whoa, disrespect, and I disavow that comment, Ross. Levy Marilainen will be playing playoff games for the Belleville Senators.
All right, there you go. There you go. So with that said, if we are coming to the conclusion that it is the Toronto Maple Leafs, we're going to add a game to the cheering guide tonight. Let's go Utah. The hockey club is in Florida to take on the Panthers. So we are going to be actively rooting against the Panthers and the Lightning down the stretch. And I mean, if you're just a hockey fan, Sens Leafs, and then also Florida versus Tampa in round 1, like that's heavenly.
Yeah, it's what you want. Now the only thing, and I've mentioned this before, but I think there's more we can add to the discussion, is Sens haven't made the playoffs in a long time. I've never been to a playoff game, Ross. I've never been to a Sens playoff game. My heart yearns for that experience. going to the CTC for my first playoff game, Sens fans' first playoff game in 7 years, and seeing the sea of blue will absolutely damper all my hopes and dreams. So a big way, like you retweeted it, Ross, and I'm paraphrasing, but someone tweeted out, we need Sens ticket holders to stand strong. I know there's that tempting dollar amount that you can cash in if you sell your tickets to Leafs fans that are willing to pay absurd amounts because it's cheaper for them to come to a Sens playoff game than it is for them to walk down the street to go see their own home team play. But we got to stand strong. You cannot be allowing Leafs fans to invade the CTC if, in fact, that is how this happens, because, my God, I don't want to go to a first home game and feel like we're at a road game.
But the thing with that, just go look at the last 2 playoff series against Montreal, another team that dominates in the regular season. I trust Sens fans to be sturdy. Maybe we should have one of the ticketing guys on next week of how Senators fans can scoop up tickets.
Yes, that's actually a great idea, Ross. But we were chatting about this before air, and you made a good point. I think with the Habs fans, the red blends in a little more. It's those blue jerseys that they just stand out, and when there's a lot of them, it's an absolute eyesore. So
hey, we talk to Sens fans that go to games in Toronto, and there's a lot of Sens fans there too. So maybe we just got to invade their building.
And that, you know what, Ross, you're approaching this the right way, and that's the right attitude. So I'm with you on all these points. No, I don't want to see any comments saying I disagree with Pilsy here. My goodness. And just for the fact, I don't mind people disagreeing with me, but only when it's the correct disagreement on my take. Just want to put that out there. No, I'm with you. That is the right approach, and that is how we need to be looking at this. All I'm saying is, I want my first experience at the CTC to feel like home. So Sens fans, let's all unite. Let's all make sure this happens. I'm basically going to guarantee, Ross. No, I will guarantee I'm going to go to every Sens home playoff game. And I'm even going to mix in a couple road games as well. So this is
cherry blossom season in DC.
Yeah. But if that happens, Ross, I don't think the Sens are going to have to worry about a second wild card spot based on the statistics, not getting ahead of myself, just based on the math, based on the facts. But yes, you are right. I am a sucker for cherry blossom season in Washington.
All right. So with all that said, let's pump the brakes on the future and look at the here and now. Weekend preview coming up. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Look, daylight savings snuck up on us again. Sneaky. And if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5 Hour Energy has your back. That extra sunshine means more time for fun. But sometimes, let's be honest, you need a little boost to power through. So whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA basketball tournament, you're squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, if you're a parent like Ross, you got kids, you need that extra energy sometimes. It gives you, 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up. I've been staying up late watching Sens game, watching other hockey games, watching basketball, and 5 Hour Energy helps me keep up the next day. I love getting outside. The weather's getting better for a hike, going for a bike ride, going for a run, just checking out what nature has to offer. And 5 Hour Energy helps me out for sure. Ross, I've even got my favorite flavor here. Look at that. 5 Hour Energy. Blue raspberry is my flavor. Look how small this is. You can fit this in your pocket, in your backpack, keep one in the car. It's only 57 milliliters. So 5 Hour Energy is the way to stay energized throughout the day. You can find them all over stores. You can even build your 12-pack or 24-pack, have it delivered right to your door. Check out your local grocery store or convenience store. I know you've seen them all around, guys. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized with 5 Hour Energy.
All right, Billsy, back-to-back games this weekend, which means it's a 7-day Locked On Senators week. We've got postcast tomorrow after the game against the Columbus Blue Jackets and Sunday after a 5 p.m. start in Pittsburgh. That's a tough turnaround, less than 24 hours after they play Columbus. And we should note the Glebe Central Pub Shuttle is sold out for tomorrow's game, but there are still tickets available for many games down the stretch. You can get your tickets there at glebecentralpub.com. With Columbus, I don't know what to expect. They're a team that was in the wild card spot forever. They've been struggling recently, but Ottawa hasn't played them at all this season.
It's crazy they haven't played, and then they're going to have 3 games in such quick succession here. But Ross, just quickly, I want to highlight too, you talked about how it's a quick turnaround coming up here. You're in Detroit, then you're back home to host Columbus. Then literally the next day, you're in Pittsburgh up against the Penguins. But then you're right back at it. You get that Monday off, and then you're back home up against Buffalo. Then 1 day off, Tampa, 1 day off, Florida. Then the very next day, Columbus, 1 day off in Columbus. Like, there is not a lot of time here. There's no rest for the wicked here. And that's why I've been trying to cautiously say we need to give Ullmark some breaks through here, because this next stretch, you only get a 1 day off break for the next 6-7 games, and there's 2 back-to-back shoved in there too. So this is going to be an intense period, not just for the goalie, but for the players as well. So it's going to be interesting to see, Ross, with how the Sens are in the standings, how the coaching staff, the players, the health staff decide what the best way to keep this team obviously engaged in the race, but also not burn them out.
Yeah, I think they said on the broadcast yesterday, Ullmark's played 13 of the last 15 games for the Ottawa Senators, a true number 1 goalie that we're seeing right now. We'll see which game would you start Ullmark in this weekend? It feels like Columbus would be the choice.
Yeah, Columbus 100%. Give Forsey the road back up against Pittsburgh, and
the only thing with that though is that you could say, do we want our number 1 fresh for the game where the players are going to be on a quick back-to-back?
No, because the point. Look, and again, you want to win every game. Every game's a must-win. The points are important. Let me preface with that. But the points up against Columbus are much more crucial than the points up against Pittsburgh. I think
for
that's
sure.
Fair to say.
Yeah, definitely. And Pittsburgh is in full free-fall mode. They just got beat down 7-3 by the Buffalo Sabres in yesterday's game.
Beat by the Sabres? How embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, hey, at least we didn't lose 7-3 to them. Jesus.
What, 5-1 and 4-0 are good?
Yeah, no, they're not. You know what else isn't good? Columbus is 6-10-2 in their last 18 games. Completely free-falling. Now, they did come back and beat the Islanders 4-3 in a shootout. Should that have gone to overtime? Kyle Palmieri would tell you no. He thinks he won the game in the final seconds, but that ended a winless streak of 6 games. The Blue Jackets were 0-5-1 in their previous 6 games before that shootout win. They had 3 full days off. Then they're playing tonight, and then they'll be on the second half of back-to-back tomorrow against Ottawa. So I think that'll be an interesting wrinkle in the game as well. Columbus, thankfully for them, they have Sean Monahan back in the lineup. He missed a bunch of time there with injury. He's got 43 points in 42 games for them. So that'll be my lookout player to watch. Former Ottawa 67, Sean Monahan. He's such an important piece of this team. They have so much young talent that I just think isn't quite ready to be elite yet. I'm looking at Adam Fantilli, who's had an enormous second half of the season in particular. But I do think that having Monahan in the lineup slots them a lot better. We're not going to pull up the lineup chart because they play tonight. Things are subject to change, but the Blue Jackets have been a really fun story this season. Obviously, they went through the tragedy, the heartbreak of the Johnny Gaudreau killing earlier before the season. And then all of a sudden, they rally around it, and Zach Werenski's playing at a Norris candidate level this season. They're an easy team to root for, but we're rooting against them for 3 of the next 11 days. We told Jody Shelley when he came on about a month ago, our ideal scenario would be the Sens and the Blue Jackets in a playoff spot, but unfortunately, it looks like the season's a little too long and the injuries were a little too much to overcome. Not to mention, they have a team save percentage of .893 this season, a little bit of what the Sens dealt with last year.
Yeah, and I think they were exceeding even their own expectations, Ross. So I think if they miss playoffs, it's not like it's a detrimental year and blow it all up. But if they make playoffs, it's a great story. I'm with you on the approach here. My lookout player is going to be Boone Jenner, the captain. He missed so much time in the season. He only started his season in February, but you need your captain and you need a veteran leader like that for this young group, like you mentioned. And he's got goals in back-to-back games up against the Penguins and the Islanders. So he's a guy that they're going to really rely on to help keep their team motivated. So I'm going to be looking out, and I want everyone else looking out for Boone Jenner, because I've had a bad or good habit of picking lookout players to score goals. So Travis Green, coaching staff, I'm telling you, I'm warning you, look out for Boone Jenner.
And last note I want to say on Columbus, this Kirill Marchenko guy, I don't know if he's come out of nowhere, but he's having a heck of a season, man. 26 goals, leading the Blue Jackets, 63 points in 67 games, and he's a plus 28. Pilsy, wow. The next best player in plus minus on the team is plus 18. He's 10 better than them. And we know plus minus, it ain't everything, but when you're that high or that low, it's certainly worth noting. And Kirill Marchenko, a pure shooter, one of those classic Russians where he gets the puck on his stick and it's right off of it. He had 42 points last year in 78 games. He's already at 63 in 67 this year. 24 of his goals have been at even strength, something to watch for here. Only 2 power play goals. How about Pittsburgh? It's been a fun season series against him. Obviously, we've been clowning on the Tristan Jarry post-game comments throughout the entire season, but hey, they played Ottawa close in Ottawa, overtime win that same night as the press conference, and then they beat the wheels off them in Pittsburgh earlier on in January. So that's a game where, hey, I'm going to be looking out for Sidney Crosby. How about that? He actually, good stat here, he became the most over point per game seasons in the National Hockey League history. His 20th point per game season, passing Wayne Gretzky, who had 19.
Insane. Just quickly on Columbus too, Ross, one thing I wanted to point out, Columbus has 5 people with over 20 goals. To put that in perspective, Senators have 2. And one of them is Tim Stützle with 21. So they're able to find a lot of spread out offense through a bunch of different guys. So you got to watch the depth on that team. With Pittsburgh, man, what a weird situation they find themselves in, because I think Kyle Dubas, the plan wasn't to rebuild, and then things kind of went off the rails. Acquiring Karlsson was a weird move for me. It didn't make a lot of sense, but they're a team that has veterans that have pride, and they're going to want to finish this season out properly. So by no means do I think we can take the Pittsburgh Penguins lightly. Again, not as important points up again as opposed to the Columbus Blue Jackets, but that's a take care of business game. I'm hoping Forsberg starts that game and he can bounce back from his performance up against Buffalo, even though the loss wasn't entirely on Forsberg, but it'd be nice for him to get some confidence because he's going to have to play at the very least one more game. They got another back-to-back after this, but probably 2, maybe even 3 games, depending on how the Sens decide to utilize Ullmark and where to give him rest throughout the rest of the season.
Well, the Penguins are having a little bit of rest here. They were off today. They're off tomorrow. Their next game is against Ottawa. They've allowed 13 goals in the last 2 games, and they've only scored 4 over 2 losses to Tampa and Buffalo. So they're a team that really needs to figure it out if they do want to end the season with a bit of pride.
Yeah, but I mean, these are the guys that could do it, right? Like Sidney Crosby is not about to let this team just kind of limp to the finish line, and for him, it's a big deal to make sure that everyone is playing the right way, and he's going to lead the team to play the right way.
Pilsy, any final thoughts on today's show? Big weekend coming up.
Yeah, final thoughts for me is Sens fans, let's enjoy where we're at, stay in the moment. You're allowed to be happy, but don't get too far ahead. Like Ross and I, sometimes we get a little far ahead and we try to bring ourselves back. But you're allowed to revel in the moment. So don't apologize for where this team is at.
We'll see you guys tomorrow on the postcast. Thank you so much for making us a part of your daily routine here on Locked On Senators. We cannot thank everybody enough. The live chat is always buzzing in the postcast. We had a great laugh last night, and tonight we will wait and watch the out-of-town scoreboard as we approach tomorrow night's game at home against the Columbus Blue Jackets. We will see you in the postcast there. For today, we say goodbye. Thank you for liking, watching, listening, and engaging with the show. Please leave a comment below. And we will see you tomorrow. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.